I'm going to tell you all right now, it is sweaty girl summer in here. It is humid. It is raining. It is also somehow 80 degrees, and I haven't put in my air units yet. I also look like an egg. Hey everybody, thank you so much for clicking on this video. So I recently went on Instagram and I asked you to just give me any fitness, health, wellness terms that you could think of. I gave you very little context and I did that on purpose because I didn't just want the negative, I also wanted the positive. So today we're gonna go through your responses and I'm gonna rank them all via a tier list. I've done a bunch of these videos before, you guys always seem to like them, so let's hop on in. Okay, let's talk about our different rankings. We have 3 tiers and at the top we've got science backed. So this is something that is literally just like a scientific term that people haven't taken and stretched to a point where it no longer makes sense. Our middle tier is give me context. So these are the terms that maybe started out pretty innocent, but companies and influencers and coaches have taken them and stretched them pretty far so that we need a little bit more context of how it's being used before I rank it. And then finally is just good old diet culture. This is the tier where I think in no way, shape, or form you should be using this language. So first up, we have HIIT. I'm going to put HIIT in give me context. Let me explain why. HIIT is absolutely a real thing. It stands for high intensity interval training. Most of the things you see online are not actually HIIT. Most of the workouts you see are not high enough intensity with enough rest time to actually qualify as HIIT, because we have to remember that training certain ways recruits a different physiological response within the body. That's why when you do something like cardio versus strength training, there's 2 different responses that happen. There's 2 different adaptations or changes. Now, I've said this in the past, I don't really mind when people market things as HIIT, even though they're not technically HIIT. I actually do the same thing. I find that if we're looking at like risk versus reward, HIIT is a word that people know and they go, ooh, this is going to be quick. I'm going to get sweaty and I'm going to click on this. So if it gets people to move, I don't really see it being a big issue. I think it's extra helpful to understand the benefits of actual HIIT training, but I also don't even think that most people need to be doing actual HIIT training. Now, the exception I will make to this is that if you are using HIIT in your marketing and saying you will actually get the benefits of HIIT training without it actually being HIIT, well, then I have an issue. Next up is mind-muscle connection. We're going to go science-backed for this one, baby. I think that mind-muscle connection is actually one of the most underrated tools that we have. And a lot of this comes down to 2 things. Number 1, people don't understand how to properly activate during their warm-up. And by activate, I literally just mean like take the time to feel the different muscles that you want working in your workout. Glutes, core, hamstrings, lats. So getting like more specific in your warm up rather than just walking on the treadmill for 10 minutes. The other reason why I think that mind muscle connection is so underrated is because most of us move too quickly during our movements. So we can't just like stop and feel what we're supposed to be using. I talk a lot about this during my classes, but like taking a second in our deadlifts. Are you gripping the floor? Are you pushing your hips back? Can you actually find your hamstrings before you come up so that you can really feel that mind muscle connection? So I think science-backed, underrated, improperly cued most of the time. Come try one of my free classes on YouTube. Next is intermittent fasting. I'm going to say, give me context. Okay, if I'm being honest, I am not fully up to date on like the studies around intermittent fasting or fasting in general. I do know that it is more so recommended for men simply because women are typically more hormonally complex. But we also know that there are not as many studies on women in the world of health and fitness. Here's what I can say though, just from like my experience as a coach. I find that most people just use intermittent fasting as a way to either get themselves into a caloric deficit by shortening the amount of time they're allowed to eat during the day, or use it as an excuse to binge later in the day. And again, that is simply from my experience working with people one-on-one. If you find that intermittent fasting works for you, amazing, go for it. But if you're using it simply to like indulge later in the day, I don't necessarily find that to be a super healthy habit. Fasted cardio. Okay, I'm going to put this in diet culture. And let me tell you right now, I don't think that fasted cardio is a bad thing. But anytime I have ever seen anyone talk about fasted cardio online, it's because it has all of these benefits and you're going to lose your fat faster and you're going to blast the fat away and blah, blah, blah. Any reputable coach is never going to sit there and talk about fasted cardio. Literally any reputable coach is going to be like, oh, if you want to work out before you eat your breakfast because that feels better for you, cool. And I know that there are studies and proven benefits, but the thing is that those proven benefits of fasted cardio, like in the long term, in the long run, it does not make a big difference. You should do the thing that you can feel the best doing and that you can stick to long term. That's the thing that's going to make a difference. Also, let's define like what does make a difference mean? Because if you're using fasted cardio to lose fat faster, no. Absolutely not. But if you're doing fasted cardio because you feel better doing your cardio without food in your stomach, and then you can actually get it in for your long-term heart health, yeah, amazing. Go for it. EPOC. We're going to say, give me context for this one. I actually did make a whole video talking about EPOC and breaking down what it means, how it's kind of used in marketing in a very exaggerated way. The biggest example, and I talk about that in that video, is Orange Theory. But essentially, EPOC is the afterburn effect, but it means that if you're doing exercise and staying in a certain heart rate zone, you are going to burn more calories even when you're done doing your workout. And that's a real thing. The way that it's promoted at places like Orange Theory is like you're going to burn double the amount of calories after. When really, I said it in that video, I think it's around like 5%. So it's actually like a very minuscule amount, and it's just kind of something that like happens, but you don't really need to think about it, because then if we really get into it, it's like you really don't even burn that many calories during your workout. You really shouldn't even be trusting these devices that we wear because they've been shown to not be super accurate. Why are we even thinking about it? Are you trying to eat back those calories later? That's a little bit disordered. Like all of those things kind of spiral into this, like, we need a little more context because it's teetering on diet culture. But is EPOC a real thing? Yes. Do people stretch the truth? Also, yes. One of my favorites, Detox. Diet culture, baby. I said it 1,000 times and I will say it one more for this video. Unless you do not have a functioning liver and kidneys, you don't need a detox. Your body will do that naturally for you. You don't need a skinny tea. You don't need to follow some cleanse. You don't even need to just like eat raw fruits and vegetables to like get things out of your system. It's not how your body works. If you do need to do a specific type of detox, you are doing that under the supervision of a doctor because something is very wrong. But otherwise, this is just diet culture. This is a good one. Get back on track. I am actually going to say, give me context. Here's the thing. I think I've actually made a whole video like called like how to get back on track. And I've tried to part from using that language only because I have found that on track for a lot of people gets associated with perfection. And perfection ends up in this place of morality, right? Good versus bad. This is tricky. Like and again, it's like a give me context situation because not everything is black and white. So if you don't associate get back on track with that type of terminology or that type of morality, awesome, use that language. But as a coach, I really need to be conscious of how different words are associated with different things for different people. Because for some people, getting back on track just means being like, okay, I'm getting back into the swing of implementing the habits and the healthy tactics that we've been working on, right? So yeah, I think this is just like, give me context, how's it being used? Cheat meal, diet culture. So like we just said, this is something that no matter how you use it, this implies that there is morality around your food. Cheating is bad. Cheating is never good. Cheating on a test, cheating on your spouse. I can't think of another example, but you get what I'm saying. So a cheat meal means this food is bad. I am doing something wrong. I am doing something immoral by eating this meal, which inevitably means that you will feel guilty about it later, and then you will feel bad about yourself. So remove this word from your vocabulary because how you think about your food and how you think about yourself does affect a lot of your choices. One of the phrases that I like to use instead is my fun foods. Sugar addiction. This is a good one. Okay, I'm going to say give me context. This is another thing. I am not up to date on these studies and science behind it. I know there is a ton of debate if you can even be addicted to food or sugar. Like people get really, really defensive of it on either side of the spectrum. I simply don't know enough. But I will say that a lot of people that I've worked with who have said that they have a sugar or food addiction are actually, like they absolutely might. But I've also found that they are lacking the foundation of understanding of like even how to eat a balanced plate. And when I say balanced, I mean, can you build a plate of protein, fats, carbs, vegetables in the proper portion sizes that you need to fuel your body? And can you do that pretty consistently? And for most of those people, the answer is no. So I think just keeping that in mind when we're thinking of a sugar addiction or a food addiction, like we need to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Intuitive eating. I'm going to go again. Give me context. I made an entire video about intuitive eating, breaking down all of the, I forget how many steps, 12 steps? No, that's AA. Anyway, watch the video. There's a number of principles associated with intuitive eating. And if you are actually talking about intuitive eating, absolutely love it. You know, there's a lot of things of like undoing this, undoing that. And then the final step, which is the part that I love, is being educated. So understanding why you need fiber, why you need carbs, why you need protein, why you need your vegetables, and making informed decisions from there after you've undone all of the diet culture. And that's the step that a lot of people miss, because a lot of people think that intuitive eating is just, I'm going to eat whatever I want. No, there's a huge educational component to it. So that being said, give me the context. If this is being phrased as, oh, you can just eat whatever you want, and then I lost 50 pounds. No, that's not helpful to anybody. That is not how intuitive eating works. And it's also not meant to be used as a freaking diet. The next one is health journey. I'm going to say, give me context. Okay, sometimes I just like start to eye roll when I hear this phrase, but then I have to remind myself that I need to be a kind person. I think I eye roll because most of the time this is like influencers using this, people who have absolutely no understanding of like how to even build sustainable habits. So that's who the eye roll is directed at. I just want to challenge this idea of being on a health journey, because isn't your whole life a journey? And when we say health journey, does that mean a healthy journey? Because you always have health. There's just different levels and spectrums of what state your health is in. So really all a health journey is, if you break that down, is a diet, because it's implying a start and an end date. You see what I'm saying? Like, this is why words are really important. And there's always going to be people in the comments being like, it's not that serious, you're overanalyzing it. But words really mean something. And the way that you talk about your body, about your health, is incredibly important, especially as a coach. And everyone interprets information differently, and I respect that, but I need to try and be as respectful to everyone as possible. So, I don't know. I don't think it's inherently terrible by any means, but I just want you, if you're on your health journey, take a step back. And are you making sustainable choices, or are you on a fixed diet for like 30 days? Feel the burn. I'm going to put this in diet culture. This is the laziest cue I've ever heard in my life. Tell someone where they should be feeling it, why they're feeling it. Ask them what they're feeling. Feel the burn is such like a dated cue for people, and I just don't think it's helpful. It also, if we're thinking like, I'm going down the rabbit hole here, I don't know, I'm just like, feel the burn. It gets into this like burning the fat off kind of mindset. I don't know. It's not my cup of tea. I think it's diet culture-y. I don't use that verbiage. Bloating. Give me some context. I feel like we're finally like coming out of the gut health trend right now, but I feel like bloating was a huge part of that. And all of a sudden everyone has chronic bloating. I'm going to tell you right now, most of you are not chronically bloated. You just don't like how you look after you eat a meal. Dancer body or Pilates body. That is diet culture, baby. There is no such thing as a dancer body. If you dance, you have a dancer body. If you do Pilates, you have a Pilates body. Both of these terms are associated with thin white women. Someone's not gonna like that I said the word white. I'm a thin white woman, but like that's who's appropriated these terms over time, right? Like we do have to acknowledge that. I'm not sitting here saying that all thin white women are evil. I'm just saying that this nonsense needs to be left in 2002. All right, hypertrophy, science-backed. So hypertrophy is simply a goal of training to create as much visible muscle mass as possible. Traditionally, the training is compound lifts and isolated movements. You're typically doing 3 to 5 sets of an exercise, between 6 to 12 reps. There have been more recent studies that show you can work for hypertrophy in other rep ranges outside that 6 to 12 reps, but that is kind of like the standard. It's kind of a fancy word, which sometimes confuses people, but it's honestly like a pretty simple, straightforward aesthetic goal. Sculpt. I'm gonna say give me context. I don't like that word, but I also know people who like literally use it in their business, and I don't necessarily like fully hate the way that they use it. But here's the thing. I think that sculpt implies spot reduction. This arm routine will sculpt your arm. Like you can build the muscle on your arms, but that's not necessarily going to, like you can't sculpt your muscle, right? Like you can build it or it can go away. You can lose body fat to see definition, but you can't like sculpt it perfectly like a sculpture. You know what I mean? And also that arm exercise you're doing isn't necessarily, it's not targeting the fat on your arm. It's targeting the fat in your whole body through the energy that you're exerting, because spot reduction is not scientifically proven. I think what I'm trying to get at is that if you use the word sculpt just as like a branding word, I don't have a huge issue with that. Like, I wouldn't do it. But if you start associating specific aesthetic benefits with the word sculpt and whatever workouts you're doing, I have an issue. Clean eating, diet culture. And I have a personal beef to pick with this one, because this is how I used to eat, and I was not well. Made a whole video about it. I was sick in the head. Clean eating, like, what is your food dirty? Did you not wash it? Like, what does that mean? And again, if we really break down what it means, people will be like, oh, well, you're not eating junk food, or you're eating whole foods. And I'm like, okay, so now again, we're associating clean is good, dirty is bad. So you're eating good foods. Again, it's all about associating morality with your food. It's restrictive, it's obsessive, and it can absolutely lead to a lot of disordered patterns. I get very heated about this one. Ooh, here's a good one. Progressive overload. This is science-backed. This is literally just adding intensity over time to your workouts to continue to progress. The body's very smart. It's going to adapt to the stress that you're putting on it over time. So you need to change or adapt or add to that stress. And this can be done via increasing the sets, reps, changing the tempo, increasing your weight, changing your stance. Like, there's a lot of ways just besides like adding weight to progressively overload a program. I will see sometimes on social media people being like, I just started a progressive overload program and this is how I'm seeing results. And like, honestly, I think any good program should be following the principle of progressive overload. Otherwise, you're literally just doing random workouts and you're going to get random results, which is fine. Like, if your goal is just to move, that's awesome. But if you want something more specific, like, this isn't a weird concept. This is just like any good coach understands that like you just have to progress people over time. Calorie deficit. This is another one that is simply science-backed. As of right now, most studies show that this is the only way to lose fat on the body, by taking in less energy than you are exerting. I am sure that we will find more and more nuance to this over time. But as of right now, this is what we have access to from the studies that have been done. Kind of the same thing with the progressive overload statement. Like, you'll sometimes see people online being like, I'm doing a calorie deficit diet. It's really working. I think it's just a lot of people like not quite understanding what they're saying, because any diet, like if the goal is to lose weight, then like they're all calorie deficit diets. You know what I'm saying? We are on a really good streak right here. Training to failure. This is just science backed. There are two main types of failure: muscular failure and mechanical failure. So muscular failure is when your neuromuscular system gives out. For example, like if you're at the bottom of your squat and you physically like cannot get back up, that's muscular failure. Mechanical failure is when you lose proper form during your exercise. So let's say you're at the bottom of your squat and you kind of like scoop and like you lose your core and all of this on the way up. I will say I actually don't train most of my clients to failure most of the time. Most of what we're working toward are training between like a 6 to 8 intensity, or RPE, rate of perceived exertion. And that honestly just comes down to the fact that I'm working with like general population. This is what most of my clients are looking for, or what most of my clients are looking for. This is the way that I train that. But every once in a while, we will throw in like training to absolute failure in there. Metabolism hacking. This is diet culture. You cannot hack your metabolism. You can support it, can't hack it. I don't even know what that means. There are no shortcuts. To support your metabolism, you need to develop long-term habits. You need to strength train. You need to prioritize balanced meals filled with minimally processed foods. You need to move during your day. You need to reduce your stress. You need to get in quality sleep. You could drink a little water in there too. That'd be good. These are things that have been proven, done consistently, will support, or I guess, hack your metabolism. If you see anything else claiming to hack your metabolism, it is a scam. Do not buy it. Oh my God, last one. Wait, this is like the perfect this is perfect for the last one. Functional training. You're going to be shocked. It's going and give me context. Okay, let's talk about it. So if you don't know why that was such a big deal, the entire way that I approach training is from a functional view or a functional lens. Functional to me literally just means training with purpose. And that's going to look different for everybody. Do you sit most of your day? Great. We're going to try and do a little bit more work for your back, really improve those posture muscles. Do you play pickleball for fun on the weekends? Great. I'm going to make sure you feel really strong in rotation and with your landing mechanics. Do you like to go on hikes? Amazing. I'm going to make sure that you have a lower body of fucking steel. Functional training is not one size fits all. Functional training is not whatever you see Joel Seedman doing. Functional training specifically means that it is specific for you. That took me an hour to film. I'm sweating, and yeah, I hope it was worth it. Always remember that with these videos, this is simply my opinion. This is how I view things out of my lens as a coach. So if there's an experience that you have that differs from mine, leave it down in the comments below. The way that I approach things is not one size fits all, just like functional training. Everyone is different, which is why I try to be so careful with my language and how I approach things. If you like this video, let me know. If you have another idea for another tier list, please let me know. And then on your way out, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos. I will see you all in the next one. Put in your window units, everybody.